Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. So glad you're joining us today. We are diving into a seriously fantastic middle grade novel by John Coley called The Curse of Mr. M's Castle. If you're wondering exactly why a middle grader would be totally glued to this story and what kind of profound emotional and practical stuff they'll actually take away from it, well, you're in the right place. Okay, let's just dive right into this and unpack the magic, the making, and the meaning behind this incredible tale.
Real quick, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. Magic in the classroom, relatable heroes, the power of woodworking, facing fears, empathy overcomes curse, and real-world applications. Basically, we're going to break this down into the hook, the line, and the sinker. The hook is this sudden burst of magic. The line? That's the super practical skill of woodworking that grounds these kids. And the sinker is the really deep emotional lesson of facing down fears through empathy. So, let's get into it.
Section 1. Magic in the Classroom. A burst of magic. We absolutely have to start with the hook, right? That immediate, totally bizarre setup that grabs a young reader literally from page 1.
So picture this. It's the first day of 4th grade. You're probably expecting the usual, right? Boring speeches about hall passes, raising your hand, all that stuff. But instead, the totally mundane first day is completely flipped on its head. The teacher, Mr. McAllister, strolls in wearing a red plaid Scottish kilt. And if that wasn't enough to grab a kid's attention, he brings in this ancient, highly mysterious Viking chest shipped all the way from his ancestral home, Glenbar Abbey over in Scotland. And right as the kids are packing up to leave, our main character, Griffin, notices something pretty much impossible. That old wooden chest? Yeah, it moves.
Which brings us to this absolutely thrilling and frankly terrifying question for our young readers. Because soon after that chest arrives, absolute chaos just erupts at the school. We're talking a kindergartner named Nevea sprinting down the hall, screaming, running from a giant spitting snake that literally no one else can see. Later on, a group of straight-A students are just eating lunch in the classroom and they get completely swarmed by spiders. One kid even passes out from sheer panic. So the mystery deepens. What on earth is hiding in this box that's manifesting these highly specific, totally individualized nightmares?
The answer to that actually comes from a brilliant place: a kid's love for reading. Sarah, one of the students in the class, is a huge fan of fantasy books like Harry Potter and the Spiderwick Chronicles. And it's her reading that defines our central conflict. She realizes the creature is a boggart. It's this magical creature from Scotland that defends itself by shape-shifting into whatever you fear the most. But Sarah knows something else that's absolutely crucial here. A boggart is actually just a mutated brownie. Now, a brownie is usually a helpful, super peaceful little creature. But this one? It was accidentally shipped all the way to America in that Viking chest. And the stress, the loud noise of the kids, the whole displacement, it mutated it into a terrified, raging boggart. Moving right along to Section 2, Relatable Heroes, the short, skinny team. Because let's be honest, a crazy magical plot is really only as good as the characters experiencing it, and this story gives us an incredibly fantastic trio to anchor all these wild events.
Now, what's really interesting about this group is how perfectly balanced they are. Every single 8 to 12-year-old reader is going to find a reflection of themselves right here. First up, you have Griffin, our main protagonist. He's not some invulnerable superhero. He's just an ordinary, short, skinny kid who makes the active choice to be brave. Then you've got Garrett. He's the skeptic with glasses, bringing that much-needed comic relief and those practical doubts that we all kind of share. And rounding it out is Sarah, the only girl in the group. She's a brilliant problem solver, and her avid reading habits literally save the day, all while she's dealing with very real-world challenges like asthma. Together, they form the short, skinny team, and their dynamic is just so incredibly authentic. All right, Section 3, The Power of Woodworking, Building Real Skills. Now, this is the line of our story. This is where the author brilliantly weaves these highly practical, real-world skills right into the plot, which is a fantastic way to encourage offline creativity.
So in the background of all this magical chaos, the kids actually join Mr. M's new woodworking club. And guys, this isn't just filler content. The kids are actively putting down their screens and picking up saws, mallets, and chisels. They're building physical, tangible things like Viking chairs and garden benches. And the physical act of woodworking serves as a really powerful metaphor in this book. Just as they're learning to measure, cut, and join pieces of wood to build something sturdy, they are simultaneously building their own courage, teamwork, and problem-solving skills. Skills they are going to desperately need to tackle this magical threat. The author actually goes as far as walking the reader through the genuine maker steps to build a replica of the Clan McAllister badge. It's so cool. They use a scrap stick and a screw as a makeshift compass to draw this perfect circle. Then they safely operate a jigsaw to cut out the shapes. They're using pocket planes and sandpaper to smooth down the edges. And finally, they paint the clan's motto, Fortiter, which translates to boldly. By reading through this process, middle graders are visually and conceptually learning that they too possess the ability to craft and create out in the real world.
Let's jump into Section 4, Facing Fears, Confronting Darkness. This is where we hit the climax of the story, and those deep, emotional lessons about confronting the things that truly scare us come front and center.
Let's look at how this really builds our understanding of bravery. Initially, the classmates react with, well, visceral panic. We're talking running away, screaming, passing out from giant snakes and swarming spiders. But then we get Griffin's defining moment of courage. When it's finally his turn to face the boggart, to deliver the medicine, the boggart manifests Griffin's ultimate fear. And it isn't a giant spider, it isn't a snake. It is complete inky blackness. Nothing. Just total oblivion. And what does Griffin do? He steps directly into that dark box anyway.
Once he's inside the box, Griffin finally sees the creature. And the visual here is just stunning. The boggart doesn't look like some monstrous, scaly beast. Instead, it's shifted to look exactly like Griffin himself, but pale, thin, and just overwhelmingly sad. So the crucial point we take away here is this incredibly profound lesson for middle graders. Sometimes, the absolute scariest monster we will ever face isn't hiding under our bed. It's our own internal sense of hopelessness and despair. To defeat the monster, Griffin literally has to confront the darkest version of himself.
Moving to Section 5, Empathy Overcomes the Curse, Taming the Monster. All right, here is our sinker. This is the ultimate thematic payoff of the entire story.
So how do they actually defeat this manifestation of despair? Well, it's definitely not with swords or violence. At first, Sarah tries to be the brave one. She goes to deliver the cure, which is honey, to the beast. But the boggart's fear aura is so strong, it triggers a severe asthma attack, leaving her gasping for air out in the hallway. Now, Griffin is absolutely terrified of the box, but seeing his friend's intense vulnerability, seeing Sarah risk her own life and fail, that gives him the final push he needs. His compassion for his friend completely overrides his own fear, and that's what propels him into the box.
And once he's inside, Griffin doesn't attack the boggart. He suddenly realizes that this creature is just as terrified and displaced as a kid starting at a brand new school. So he gently offers it the honey, which, by the way, acts as a really soothing, medicinal antimicrobial. And this brilliantly illustrates the core message of the book, that empathy, the honey, the gentle touch, it begins to heal the boggart, transforming it right back into a peaceful brownie. Later on, the creature even speaks from inside the box, and it tells Garrett, "You're a good friend." Empathy, not violence, tames the monster.
Finally, we arrive at Section 6, Real-World Applications, Rooted in Reality. Because this explainer really wouldn't be complete without looking at the author's incredible addendum at the very end of the book.
John Coley includes this addendum to prove to educators, parents, and kids that all these themes have really deep roots in reality. It is just amazing to learn that Glenbar Abbey in Scotland, that's a real place with a real toy room. Coley himself actually ran a real middle school woodworking club where kids built these exact same chairs and benches. On top of that, honey truly does have historical, powerful antimicrobial properties. And maybe most delightfully of all, Griffin, Garrett, and Sarah were inspired by real, incredibly capable students from his actual classroom. The magic is fully grounded in the tangible world.
Which brings us right to our final thought. The curse of Mr. M's castle brilliantly bridges that gap between the fantastical and the practical. It teaches young readers that they can use their own hands to build real things and use their hearts to conquer terrifying emotional obstacles. So I want to leave you with this question to ponder today. If building a simple wooden badge and showing a little bit of empathy can tame a legendary monster, what incredible real-world stories are waiting to be written by you? Thank you so much for exploring this wonderful story with me today on The Explainer. Keep learning, keep building, and I'll catch you on the next one.